And the 100 million people, Joe, the 100 million people is totally wrong. I don't know where you got that number. The bigger problem that you have, private health care, that they're very happy with.
That's simply not true.
Well, you're certainly going to socialist. You're going to socialist medicine.
We're now into...
Your party wants to go socialist medicine.
My party is
and
me.
socialist
right
healthcare.
now, I am
and
the
they're going to dominate
Party.
you, Joe. You know that. Here,
Look,
it wouldn't be
deal.
200. It would be 2 million people because you were very late on the draw. That was the worst part of Obamacare.
Sir,
Chris,
you're
that was the
debating
worst
him,
part
not
of
me.
Obama.
Let me ask my question.
Well, I'll ask Joe.
The
individual mandate was the most unpopular aspect of Obamacare. I got rid of it.
I'd like you
and we will protect
Mr.
people
President,
with
I'm the
pre-existing
moderator of this
conditions.
debate, and I would like you to let me ask my question, and then you can answer.
Go ahead. Just a tiny fraction.
I'm sure most of you guys who clicked on this video are very familiar with what went on with this debate. At this stage, there isn't even a point in calling whatever this was a debate, just two immature guys talking and interrupting each other. So-called debates like these have become a spectacle to exchange witty remarks and give nonsense callouts, rather than actual facts just to ignite and excite the crowd. We'll go into this in another video, but in this video we'll explore the economics of Joe Biden and the plans that he has for the US economy. Now let's get one thing straight. Both candidates have their shortcomings and strengths, and I'm not advocating for you guys to vote for any of these guys specifically, but do go out and vote. Listen to me on that. Your vote is important. If you are living in Australia like I am, you'd actually have a penalty for not voting. So go out there and do your civic duty. Now of course, a hot topic right now is COVID, so let's talk about that. In the debate, there were numerous negative remarks against Trump on how he handled the COVID crisis. Could he have done a better job? Absolutely, no doubt. But these things are all very easy to say when you look at things in hindsight. So with that being said, how will Biden help to win against the COVID crisis? Well, Biden has outlined a 7-point plan to help combat the virus. Firstly, Biden and his administration is going to ensure that testing is free for every American, has reliability, and can be accessed regularly. He's going to do this by doubling the drive-through testing sites and invest significantly to ensure that people can do in-home tests and get instant results as well. After all, the more results you can find, the better it is to track and find trends and patterns. Additionally, there's also plans to have a pandemic testing board which will essentially manufacture and produce millions of testing kits using proper efficiency. Secondly, when it comes to PPE, Biden plans to fully use the Defense Production Act or DPA to rapidly increase the production of masks, face shields, respirators and other important equipment as well. So what exactly is DPA? Basically, this act allows the president to require businesses to accept certain contracts and tasks as they are necessary for national defense. So in this scenario, it means that the government would negotiate with private businesses directly for them to fast-track production for PPE. Now, DPA has already been invoked by Trump, as he's argued that it is a matter of national defense, which it is, although there were a few hesitations from him to begin with. The Trump administration has had talks with GM and 3M regarding this. Now, when it comes to Biden, he wants to exercise full control of this act, as currently it's not being used to its full potential. He's emphasized that he wants more equipment than the current demand, just to be on the safe side, especially for areas that have suffered more. There are also plans to produce these in-house to help rebuild the economy. Thirdly, the plan is to provide clear and evidence-based national guidance for how schools, businesses and families should respond. It's clear that there is a lot of misinformation out there regarding the virus, and people are jumping to their own conclusions. For example, people actually think that 5G towers cause COVID, so they're burning them down. These resources are going to assist with the misinformation and will also guide businesses on when to open or close or restrict the amount of people inside a restaurant or bar. The big thing is that this will be evidence-based and will not be a blanket rule for every state or city. Now, of course, the cost to the small businesses will be quite huge if restrictions are in place, so Biden has also promised a restart package for businesses to help recover some costs. Fourthly, Biden wants to distribute the vaccine to every single American cost-free. Now, this is going to be a mammoth task to do, especially when the country has a population of over 300 million people, and people are obviously living in different geographical places and some live in very rural and small towns. So because of these complexities, Biden wants to invest an additional $25 billion to have proper logistical channels to distribute the vaccine and ensure that the drug is not price gouged by pharmaceutical firms. There's a focus on eliminating politics from this and having full transparency to the American people, by having scientists make decisions and publicly release clinical data for every vaccine approved. For the fifth point, Biden and Kamala Harris want to protect older Americans and those at high risk by having a nationwide pandemic dashboard that can check zip codes in real time, which can help the elderly to decide what precaution to take. That's if they know how to use these systems. Hopefully it's simple enough. At number 6, Biden wants to ensure the relationship with the World Health Organization to have much better preparedness and coordination. Additionally, they want to increase the amount of disease detectives in China to get a handle on the situation over there and generally mitigate any pandemic threats. Now, the seventh and the last point is what I believe will be the hardest to implement in this whole plan of Biden, and that's the implementation of a nationwide mask mandate, meaning that masks will now be compulsory to wear. Biden wants to work with the governors of each state and mayors to ensure this will happen. Now, just looking at the stuff we've seen on social media about people refusing to wear masks and just being an annoyance in general, this will surely cause conflict.
All of you! That man harassed me for not wearing a mask. I have a breathing problem. My doctor would not let me wear a mask. So anyone harassing me to wear a mask, you guys are violating federal law. You get that? Get that on camera.
Ma'am, you're gonna work on my teeth, not my nose. I don't wear a mask getting my teeth cleaned.
But it's about the safety of all of our.
Fine, I'll cover my mouth. Can I go be seated now?
No, because you're not filling out the forms or letting us take your temperature. It's about protecting our.
You
staff
can't take
and
my
everybody.
temperature. That's against the law.
All right. Well, I can't.
You're not an
allowed-
MD.
We're not
okay?
allowed to. We
No.
can't see you. That's
I have a right to sue you for harassing me, the manager, and this entire company, Smile, whatever you call it, dental.
I'm not allowed to video, but you're making me wear a mask. Otherwise, you're gonna deny me service if I don't wear a mask.
Although I believe the majority of the American people will follow this instruction if it does come into effect, there will always be a few bad apples. Now, I just want to make a note and say that this comprehensive plan is straightforward to draft up when you have the clarity of hindsight, as I mentioned earlier. If the situation was reversed, Trump would have probably made a plan that was as comprehensive, however dissimilar. Now, it's clear that Biden is going to be doing a whole lot of spending in the billions, so how is he going to fund this? Through the increase of taxes, especially for the wealthy and upper class. This COVID crisis has been phenomenally tough to say the least, especially for the lower to middle class people, being pushed out of a job, unable to make ends meet, and struggling to pay for basic necessities. This is the reality. So on one hand, you have the majority who have struggled greatly, but on the other, you've got the top 1% of Americans who have added over $600 billion to their net worth. When you've got people that can't afford to make next month's mortgage repayment or rent, while these guys are adding almost $2 billion to their wealth every day if we average it, something's definitely wrong. This is the philosophy of Biden and how the policy is designed and why taxes are being increased. So what are the tax changes? Well, let's start with an average person like you or me who works a standard job. Biden has proposed changes to the income tax for the highest threshold, so if you're watching this, generally it won't impact you. Currently the rate is 37% for people earning this much and above. This is set to change to 39.6% for this threshold. So to put it into context, if you're someone who's earning $1 million per year, then you'll be worse off by $12,500 roughly per year. It's not going to break your bank, but it is something. Additionally, Biden wants to lower the burden of essentials like health insurance and childcare. Now, childcare itself can vary a lot between states. For example, in Mississippi, it'll cost on average around $5,500 per year for childcare, whereas in states like Washington DC, it'll cost upwards of $24,000 per year, which is over $2,000 per month, which is over 4 times as much. So to combat this, tax credits will be introduced. Obamacare will be expanded to make sure that a family doesn't spend over 8.5% of their income on health insurance. Additionally, $8,000 in tax credits are also being offered to families with low to middle incomes so they can afford to pay for childcare. When it comes to elders buying insurance, that will have tax benefits as well, but the most important tax credit that is on offer here is for families to buy their first home. This means that if you're buying your first home in America, you will receive a tax credit up to $15,000. This is quite significant and will definitely help out people looking to get into property. Speaking of childcare and children, the child tax credit or CTC will also be increased. For children under the age of 6, it will be $3,600. For ages between 6 and 17, this will be $3,000. The good thing about this change is that families can choose to get monthly payments of this credit rather than waiting until they do their taxes. This is going to provide ongoing support to them, which is much better than a lump sum payment. Perhaps the biggest change that's being introduced is the changes in corporate tax. Currently it sits at 21%, this will now be increased to 28%. It's important to note that if we look at the history of this tax over the last 25 years, it's remained at 35% until Trump came into power. So an increase up to 28% is still below what it has been historically. Some analysts are predicting that there may be a short decline in the markets if Biden was to get elected, as taxes are going to be increased. However, looking long term, markets should be able to adjust. When it comes to people earning more than $1 million per year, their capital gains will be taxed at the highest marginal rate of 39.6%. Currently, if you hold an asset for over a year and sell it afterwards for a profit, you only pay about 20% capital gains tax. This change will mean that the tax is effectively doubled for the rich. There's a whole heap of other changes promised by Biden, so make sure to check them out. Biden has specifically said that if you're earning less than $400,000 per year, then you will not pay a single cent more in tax. This tax policy is only meant to make the rich pay their fair share. I like the intention of this, but here is one thing that needs to be realized. If corporations get taxed more and the rich as well, who employ hundreds and thousands under them, they are going to try and maximize profits as best they can. So what that means is we are potentially looking at slower wage growth and lower salaries for some. Because as we know, for some businesses, the bottom line is the most important thing. So although the everyday individuals will benefit, there also may be an indirect cost to them that they might not realize. By some predictions, this tax will generate around 3 to 4 trillion in government revenue over the next decade, which Biden then plans to put towards social security, education, and health. Now, when it comes to immigration, we all know that Trump was quite tough on this, especially for illegal immigrants, or aliens if you want to call them that. Biden is going to essentially reverse the changes that Trump made in regards to this and modernize America's immigration system. This will be done by welcoming people to the US from all parts of the world and recognizing their hard work and ensuring that their skills and talents are well utilized to benefit America. Biden's whole thinking behind this is that America was built on stolen land, which was owned by Native Americans. So since the majority of the people currently living in the country can trace their ancestry back to immigration, who are they to stop people coming into the country? It's very hypocritical. So because of this, Biden is going to launch a series of plans to assimilate undocumented immigrants back into America and provide them with citizenship through a due process and a number of other measures. Looking at it from an economic standpoint, this will boost the population of the country over time, and as long as these people are productive citizens of the country, there will be a net benefit to the country in the long term, rather than spending millions to locate and deport these people. If they're already in the country and have benefited the economy throughout their years, then we can reasonably expect that they will continue to do so. After all, immigrants generate billions in taxes for the country and contribute to job creation as well. There's a whole heap of changes that Biden has outlined in this election, and it would take much longer than a 10-minute video to go through. He's not the perfect candidate, neither is Trump, but these two are the only two choices possible. In summary, Biden hopes to tax the rich and give to the poor and middle class in doing so. Whether or not this is a good idea for the economy is up for debate depending on who you listen to. What is most important is that you go out and vote. This is one of the chances you have to hopefully make a difference, so go out there and do your duty. That's it for this video guys, let me know what you think. Please like, share and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Thanks guys.